But I live in Southeast Asia, so I can tell you about China. I mean, incredibly aggressive country, colonialist to the core, ethnocracy. If you're not Mandarin speaking Han Chinese, you don't have a lot of rights in that country. You don't have a lot of opportunity to elevate your status, to go up in society. You know, unless you are some sort of equivalent of a Shabbos goy for them, you know, and you've got to go along with everything these people want. They just don't care. I mean, the extent to which they don't care what you think of them, not giving a fuck to find that Chinese-owned firms produced baby milk that was poisonous to babies and killed babies in Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, the Philippines, and a bunch of other countries, right? It's that powdered milk stuff. They were faking it. They're making fake baby milk. And it was a Chinese-owned company. No repercussions. All these babies died. No apology. Nothing. There was a storm, I think, in Indonesia. I can't remember if it's Indonesia. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, so I can't remember exactly. China said, "Oh, we'll do food aid. You know, we'll come in with food aid." And what they really did was bought off a bunch of local politicians during this. But the actual food they gave people fake rice. So it's like 30% rice and the rest is plastic. They make Chinese-owned firms, right? Like the government-owned firms, because loads of stuff is government-owned there, right? Like it's not really communist anymore. It is free market. They're free markets. You can own a house, you can own a car, you can set up a company. Loads of people own their own businesses there. But Chinese-owned, government-owned firms are making fake eggs. You know, that's the extent. A lot of people are like China's based, right? Like in our neck of the woods, they're like China's based, like they're like oppressing the Uyghurs. They're setting up camps, like they're taking care of business. They're expanding their territory. Who doesn't want to be like the Chinese? And I do understand exactly where people are coming from with that narrative. Like, why wouldn't you just have will? They express the will to power. That they're just going for it, and no like moralizing can stop them. I understand why people think like China's pretty base. I get it, but if you're not Chinese, like this is a problem for you, right? Like if you're not one of them, it ain't good. Like if you're Chinese, I get why you would support the government, but if you're not, and people seem to think like we're so far removed from China, like it's not going to be an issue, but we see right now a trade war between Australia and China taking place, and these kind of things can escalate. So they have a tendency to talk about gutter oil. Thanks for the suggestion. All right. Mandarin Han Chinese, not just Chinese. Yeah, that is an important distinction. You know, it's within the country itself, it is an ethnocracy, right? Depending on how you break it down in China, I believe that certain academics will break it down to being 556, I think, ethnic groups, distinct ethnic groups. There are different ways you can measure this. Like you can look at intermarriage between different peoples. You can look at genetic or racial differences. A lot of people think that China's just this big blob and everyone's the same. You know, obviously the Tibetans aren't the same. The Uyghurs are a Turkic ethnic group. They don't look anything like the Han Chinese. Right now, they're taking Uyghur men, right, accusing them of terrorism, putting them in camps, and then they move Han Chinese dudes into their wives' homes, and basically, like it's state-mandated rape to get rid of this population. They also force the Uyghur women. They'll like accuse them, oh, you were teaching a lesson in Arabic. That goes against our motto. They've got some motto which is like one people, one mind, one country, something like that. Where you know everyone's got to be a fucking robot, you know, and they'll a little dodgy with business dealings, a little funny in contract readings. If you write up you've got to be very careful with your language in a contract when you're writing one with a Chinese guy. He'll always look to make a buck. That is just true.